Why, hello there. It is 24 days until Elden Ring comes out on February 25th, 2022, and this is the Elden Wait Countdown. And you might be asking yourself, where is day 25? You did not do day 25. And I am combining day 25 with day 24 for a couple of reasons. The first is that it is very late right now and it is already February, and you know what? I, for one, am tired of being in a world where it is not Elden Ring month, so we are just jumping ahead here because it is coming out during Elden Ring month. We are in February. Let's go. But today we are talking about how Miyazaki created yet another poison swamp, and we are talking about an item description and a concept that Miyazaki has brought forth that all sort of tie together in some interesting ways. So this episode does contain a little bit of the interview that Game Informer did with Miyazaki. He brings forth what is kind of a new concept, not really, so if you're really spoiler adverse, you may want to duck out, but it's not anything new. It's a Miyazaki quote talking about a concept in wide detail, and I'm just using what we know from items to sort of speculate forth from there. Anyways, let's get into it. Miyazaki told Dan Tack that in terms of how the player feels when they encounter this area, that is a different story. But when making the game, I rediscovered my love for making poison swamps. I know how many people feel about them, but suddenly I realize I'm in the middle of making one and I just can't help myself. It just happens. And my hot take here is that poison swamps are a staple of the series, and even though they are admittedly not always the most fun to play in, it does feel like home, being in a From Software game, building up poison, trying to get through the muck. It's just part of the whole deal. And Miyazaki elaborates on this with an interesting extra bit. In terms of Elden Ring's story and setting, there is something that is especially horrible that exists and persists in this world. I'll go ahead and say the name so it's something you can look forward to. It's called the Scarlet Rot, and this is something that is separate a little bit from poison or toxicity, but I hope you look forward to it. Thinking of rot and plants, I think of how this could tie into the Death Root and Garank, the Beast Clergyman, trying to cull it, but I'm also reminded of something else, and it happens to be in today's item description. Today we are talking about the Armorer's Cookbook, and it says, Record of crafting techniques left by an armorer who served the great General Radahn. Contains knowledge of dealing with decay, the application of fire in particular. So it was important in General Radahn's army to combat decay with fire. Which, going back to Miyazaki's first quote, I just want to note that Miyazaki is lying to us. Miyazaki, you did not stumble into another poison swamp. In the Ashes of Ariandel DLC in Dark Souls 3, that deals heavily with rot and how the painting needs to be cleansed with fire, and just happens to include some dudes who worship a sacred oak tree. I know you were thinking about it. Back in October, Bamco EU put up a starter guide, and in it is mentioned red rot, which sounds like scarlet rot. Red rot is actually a plant disease, which got me thinking about a couple of things. I think the scarlet rot must pose some kind of threat to the Erd tree, and it needs to be cleansed with fire. It also got me thinking about Melania, her big flowery thing, and how she suffers from something. Perhaps that is scarlet rot. Also, her hair is red, which might have no bearing, but I wrote in my notes for some reason. It's just interesting because you have Radahn and Melania butting heads in this war, while it also seems like there's a sizable existential threat in the scarlet rot. Maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion, but it's interesting, and Miyazaki called it especially horrible. And if it is a big deal, that means Miyazaki may have given us our biggest, baddest, most significant poison swamp yet in his games, and that is a lot to imagine. That is especially horrible. And there you have it, day 25 and day 24, because goddammit, it is February now, and we are in Elden month, and I am very excited because we are finally in the month where Elden Ring is out. I've been waiting for this for 2 years, since 2019, even more than that, and I am just going to get excited about every day from now on. I'm sorry, it's like watching Guy get excited about numbers every day like I'm some Sesame Street character, but we are getting so close, and it is awesome. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like. And if you want more item descriptions leading up to release, and then you want more lore content following the release of Elden Ring, please consider subscribing to The Lore Hunter. Thanks for watching.